Wario and his weird, wacky friends are back for another round of some of the silliest fun Nintendo has to offer in WarioWare Move It for the Nintendo Switch, and this edition sees the return of purely motion-controlled gameplay in a direct sequel to the fantastic Wii title WarioWare Smooth Moves. We're talking 200 micro games, a fun little story, lots of motion controls, and actual full-body movement. It sounds like a lot of fun. So let's dive into WarioWare Move It, see how the game holds up, and see if we can turn those micro games into micro workouts. When you hit the main menu, you are greeted with two modes, Story and Party. Story is where we're heading first, and it's typical WarioWare fun. I won't go too full on into the plot, but essentially you're on an island and you're given a set of form stones, which are basically Joy-Cons. And if Wario and his band of merry do certain poses with these stones, they can receive good luck. This is enough of a plot reason to make us perform certain forms with the stones, which are how you hold the Joy-Cons, and these stances serve as the starting positions for each of the micro games. I've said micro game a lot, haven't I? So I should probably explain what that is. The concept is simple. You're playing a short little game and trying to achieve a goal. But when I say micro, I mean that you have about 5 seconds maximum to figure out what to do and how to win. This creates a wonderful frenzied feeling to each game and really is where the magic of WarioWare lies. The constant rush of different activities is really compelling, and it's a great silly game that everyone can enjoy. So Story essentially serves as an introduction to each of the games and forms, giving a tutorial on how to perform each form correctly. There are 18 in total, with those 200 micro games split between them. The forms are essentially different ways to hold the Joy-Cons and are genuinely very varied. There are ones like Choo Choo, where you hold your arms like you're pretending to be a train, which I definitely didn't do as a child. Definitely not. Crocodile, where you're holding your hands like a crocodile's jaw. Massage, where you're holding the Joy-Cons facing down with pronated hands. Scales, where you do a T-pose to assert dominance, and a whole range more. Now, an absolute standout is which you have to do to pretend to be a chicken and do games like that. Fantastic creative stuff. Posing your body in each different way sets you up to perform whatever task the micro game requires of you. The brilliant thing about this, of course, is that the motion controls are used differently in each game, even within each form. So the same form can be adapted and moved in different ways, so figuring that out in such a short period of time to complete the micro game is mostly entertaining and very occasionally frustrating. Another cool thing about this game is that this is one of 9 games on the Nintendo Switch to actually use the IR sensor. The hand movement form, as it sounds like, detects your hand's movements, and you have microgame situations based off of that as well. It's another intuitive approach that intelligent systems have taken to make the WarioWare games stand out. The single-player story mode has you complete little story missions where you get the same 1 or 2 forms, and then games get chosen from those forms. You have 4 lives, and with those you need to complete around 14 microgames in order to face the boss game, which is actually a mini-game. And I say mini because it lasts longer than a microgame. I really enjoyed these story missions because not only was it like really fun seeing Wario and his mates doing different things, and there's like independent little stories there, but the quickfire games using your full body are nice and fun and engaging. Trying to guess what to do, or even better, trying not to repeat what you've just done in another game is really taxing on the brain sometimes, and yeah, it's just really fun. It's really compelling. You have to think on your feet, which is especially important when the games start to speed up. And the variety of micro games is amazing as well. As you'll have seen throughout this video, there is so much to do, and even some incredible Nintendo references. I'm obviously particularly a fan of the Ring Fit Adventure micro game. It's so cool. Sometimes you'll lose all your lives and fail, and if you fail, you get a second chance at redemption thanks to this sacred pose. These poses are all yoga poses, and I really wasn't expecting to see that, but they've done it so well, it's implemented so smoothly. It's just another surprising thing from this entertaining bunch of micro games. And then there's multiplayer. WarioWare is chaotic on your own, but it gets amplified when you're playing with friends. Party mode is where this game is at its absolute best, and there are so many varieties and modes to use in this. There's the standard competition mode to compete in the mini-games for a high score, but then there are also insane variations that create such silly scenarios. I especially like having to shout things out whilst playing for fun. It's creative and so dumb at times, and it makes you want to play more and more and more. So as you can hear, like, I'm having a really good time with this game, but that does not mean that WarioWare Move It is without flaw. The control schemes in WarioWare games have never been perfect, and Move It is no exception. Certain microgames don't have the best functionality when it comes to motion controls, and are kind of obnoxious to control under pressure, with the sensitivity of movement feeling wrong. It's not a lot of them, but every so often they come up, and it does just kind of kill the vibe that you've got. Something else to note is that this is a very short single-player experience. This is a set of microgames, of course, so I wasn't expecting a super long game, but the story's pretty short. and once you plow through the micro games a few times, they can get a little repetitive. Yes, once you've beaten the game, there are extra levels, and there is one particular one that is of note to us, but we'll get into that later, but it still feels like quite a short game. That's the nature of a game like this, sure, but honestly, there's a little part of my brain that is nagging me and asking me whether this is worth full price if you're going in just for a single player experience. I paid 70 Australian dollars for this game, and I don't know how many hours I'm going to get out of this on my own, if I can be honest with you. Obviously, value is subjective, and there's definitely a lot of quality to the games and the design, but I'm inclined to suggest that if you're a solo player, consider waiting for a sale on this one. If you're looking for something that you can repeatedly play and have fun with your friends though, you can absolutely justify the price tag though, it really is good with mates. I do however think that Intelligent Systems were doing as their name suggests and have put measures in place to alleviate the repetitive nature of the microgames though. Once you've played a game, you can access it in Museum. You can try each of its 3 difficulty levels and adjust the speed from normal to too fast. This speed mechanic changes up how the games feel and really increases that frenetic energy that they create. It makes even the simplest concepts really challenging. Even then, that's not for everyone, but the increased pace and therefore explosivity of your movement makes your WarioWare session even more active. And that statement allows me to really clunkily get into the main question of this review. Is WarioWare Move It worth it as a workout? While some movements aren't particularly workout-centric, there is a considerable amount and variety of movement here. There's a whole form based on the squat movement after all, the scales and at-attention forms seem to require considerable movement, and there's lots of flexion, extension and full body action that requires you to control your core decently as well throughout. But most importantly, once you've beaten the story mode, you actually unlock a dedicated workout option, Mega Game Muscles. You do 20 micro games in a row, and they are all selected out of the ones with decent ranges of motion, and not only that, they increase in speed as well. It's a score attack style game, and what's even better is it can be quickly and efficiently repeated to your heart's content. Whilst the other modes in this game may not work you out that well owing to lots of breaks between micro games, this mode has been tailored specifically to keep you moving, and it's a fun workout option. With enough time, this can create the volume to be a great aerobic session with varied movement, and whilst those with moderate to good fitness won't really feel the effect as much as others, in my opinion the answer is yes. Thanks to Mega Game Muscles, you can turn WarioWare Move It into a workout. WarioWare Move It is a chaotic, silly microgame experience that gets you moving in so many different and hilarious ways. It doesn't quite have the legs as a purely single-player game, but if you've got some parties coming up or want a great multiplayer experience, WarioWare is a wonderful time, harking back to the silliness and freshness of playing multiplayer on the Wii. It's a valid active gaming experience as well, but once you've beaten the game, you've got another decent, dedicated workout option for Nintendo Switch. And if you're only in it for single-player mode, maybe wait for a sale, but if you want to play with your mates, go for it right now, it is wonderful. And that is WarioWare Move It. I'm now going to go try and beat all of my high scores on the form, but let me know if you've got any other questions, and make sure that you subscribe for all the best fitness gaming content there is on YouTube. I'm Master Trainer Peter, thank you for your time today, and make sure you keep your eyes peeled for another WarioWare Move It video coming very soon. Thanks to my patrons like Rain for their support through Patreon.